Aerial view of Africa's diverse landscapes, mineral-rich mountains, fertile agricultural fields, oil fields, and bustling cities. Africa, the world's most resource-rich continent, is endowed with vast deposits of gold, diamonds, oil, fertile lands, and abundant rivers. But despite this wealth, Africa's economies are heavily dependent on Europe for technology, investment, and infrastructure. Today, we explore why Africa, with all its resources, still relies on Europe. Cut to scenes of miners working in gold mines in Ghana, then to an oil refinery in Nigeria. From Nigeria's oil reserves to the gold mines of Ghana, Africa holds 30% of the world's mineral resources. But this wealth often leaves the continent in raw form, with much of the value added only after reaching foreign markets. For centuries, Africa has primarily exported raw materials, while Europe and other global markets have been the main buyers and processors. Transition to archival footage of colonial times: ships transporting goods, European factories processing African resources. The roots of this dependency go back to the colonial era. European colonial powers exploited Africa's resources, setting up systems that extracted materials like cocoa, cotton, rubber, and minerals, and shipped them back to Europe. These systems benefited colonial powers but left African nations with limited control over their resources and economies. Scene of African leaders signing independence documents, followed by images of new governments. After gaining independence, many African nations were left with economies still reliant on exporting raw materials. However, they lacked the infrastructure, technology, and capital to build value-added industries. With limited investment from within, African governments turned to Europe for loans, aid, and partnerships to develop their industries. Cut to scenes of modern cities in Africa with European-funded projects, roads, and railways. Even today, much of the infrastructure across Africa is funded by foreign aid or foreign investors. European countries and financial institutions play a large role in funding roads, railways, ports, and energy projects. Without sufficient capital from local sources, African countries remain reliant on European support to build these essential projects. Scene transition to African universities and labs, with scientists working on machinery and research. Another factor is technology. While Africa has abundant resources, many countries lack the advanced technology required for extraction, processing, and innovation. For instance, oil refining and high-tech manufacturing require expertise and equipment that are often unavailable locally. As a result, African countries partner with European companies to access the necessary technology and skills. Cut to an African market selling imported European goods alongside locally grown produce. This reliance extends beyond infrastructure to consumer goods. Many African markets rely on imports of finished goods, from electronics to pharmaceuticals, clothing, and vehicles. European companies dominate these markets, while local industries often struggle to compete. This dependency on imports reinforces a cycle of trade imbalance, as Africa exports raw materials but imports higher-priced finished goods. Scene transition to images of African leaders at international meetings with European counterparts. Trade agreements and financial dependencies also play a role. In return for loans and aid, many African countries are bound by agreements that favor European investment and restrict certain trade activities. This creates financial dependencies that are difficult to break without causing economic instability. Africa's debt to European lenders is a constant reminder of the financial ties that bind the continent. Back to narrator on screen, looking thoughtfully against a backdrop of African and European flags. But this dependence is not without critique. Many argue that Africa's reliance on Europe limits the continent's economic independence and stunts the growth of local industries. African leaders and entrepreneurs are increasingly advocating for policies that encourage self-sufficiency and local value addition, transforming raw materials into finished products within Africa. Cut to scenes of African startups, local entrepreneurs, and innovative agricultural practices. In recent years, a wave of African entrepreneurs and innovators has been emerging. From renewable energy projects to technology startups, Africans are building new industries with a focus on sustainability and independence. Local manufacturing and tech hubs are slowly gaining momentum, showing that Africa has the potential to reduce its reliance on foreign support. Closing montage of diverse African landscapes, industrial projects, and people working together. While the journey to economic independence is complex, Africa's story is one of resilience and ambition. With a young population, growing economies, and a wealth of resources, the continent has immense potential to forge a future less dependent on Europe and more focused on self-sustained growth. The dream of a self-reliant Africa may yet become a reality. Subscribe to more videos like this.